with my baby, y'all. Hi, guys. So, I first want to start this video by saying happy Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Y'all know I got my shirt on. I will keep this shirt forever. Um, I'm going to wear it multiple times because washers and dryers exist. And yeah, this is my somebody crocheted this for me, and I love it. So thank you. Um, yeah, and I'm wearing my pink because it's October, and I'm having a baby girl in pink month. So I'm really excited about that. So if y'all want to know why I brought y'all here today, it's because I wanted to close out this month by telling my story of my breast cancer journey and basically what I went through from start to finish. This video is going to be 3 parts, and I'm not going to lie, it's probably going to be a little long. So, if I was you, I would grab a snack or something, just grab something because this is going to be a long story. Okay, y'all, so I am going to say I'm going to be reading from my cell phone sometimes because I literally have bullet points, y'all, and I don't want to, miss anything or, I want to get the storyline right. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys about my breast cancer journey. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my bullet points. Um, okay, so this story actually started in 2023. And in 2023, I was 26 years old. So that's when, you know, basically when all of it started. So the year is 2023, and I had literally just turned 26, y'all. Like, when I tell y'all, it was January, it was my birthday. Um, yeah, it was literally my birthday. It was January, the beginning of the year. I had literally just turned 26 years old. Not even, clean out of 25 yet. And that's when I basically one day discovered a small lump um, in this area right here. But at the time, I didn't really understand, what it was. And I don't know what my thought process was back then, but I definitely didn't think, going to the hospital was just not my first thought. It wasn't my first thought at all. So I just thought, maybe it'll go away because, like I said, you guys, it was like super small. Like, it was a small little lump, a small little knot. And, I never really was educated about, lumps. I probably heard, women say, oh, you're supposed to check for lumps in passing, but it wasn't something that was like, I'm sorry, I hate being outside, but it was just like a small little lump, and it didn't register to me, oh, this could be breast cancer. Like, that thought never crossed my mind. I never thought, let me go to the hospital. I never thought, I wasn't thinking about any of that. So I just, forgot about it. I thought maybe it'll go away. Whatever's wrong, it'll work itself out. Or, like I had other things going on in my head that were more important. Or so I thought. Oh, just really naive, honestly, and not concerned about your health because you're in your 20s and you don't think you're ever going to have a health issue. So, right around this time, um, the time of February, that's when me and my husband decided to leave our apartment. And all in the name of transparency, it was because we were paying, and all in the spirit of transparency. So the month of February, right after that, just a short month after I found the lump, that's when my husband and I decided to leave our apartment because, just in the spirit of transparency, it was a one-bedroom apartment. It was really small, and we were paying so much money for it, almost $2,000 for the apartment. And I just felt like, if I could pay for this, then I could probably pay for something better. Like, you know, I thought in my head, even houses cost less than this. So, like I said, just really naive and just really learning how to be an adult, honestly. That's the best way I can say it. Now, I didn't think it would be really hard to find any place because every time I ever applied for something, I had gotten it before. Like if I applied for an apartment or if whatever I applied for, I had gotten it. I knew it could be probably some things on my credit, but I did not know just how like deep the impact of having those little things on my credit could be to, get a different place. But that video is not about this. So I'm going to just move on from that part. Um, oh yeah, and also the apartment had literally became infested with ants and stuff. And if y'all know me, y'all know that I just really don't like bugs. I don't, I just don't like live in environments where I feel like, oh, this is disgusting. I'm sorry. But I grew up with a mother who's pretty much just like really OCD. So that kind of just like was instilled in me, like to just be clean and just, I hate bugs, I hate infestations. And it was like no matter what we did, we couldn't get rid of the ants. And I was like, oh my God, this is expensive. Then we have to deal with this. And then it's small on top of that, which, at the time we only had our son. But I just felt like, why not try for something better? Try for something else. And it just so happened that at that same time, I'm sorry, guys. And it just so happened that around that time, and it wasn't until after, we had decided to leave that I found out that I was pregnant. Like, I had taken a pregnancy test because I wasn't feeling well. And mind you, I was trying for a baby. I did want another baby because I had such a great time. Oh my God, there's an airplane. I'm sorry, guys. So I had such a good time, having my son, and I was enjoying being a mother, so I did want another baby. So I was actively trying for a baby, but I didn't know that I had gotten pregnant already. So that happened. So long story short, we went to a hotel and we decided to keep applying for places and applying for places, and that's basically where we were. Like, we were looking and living at the hotel after leaving our apartment. But we just kept getting denied because, like I said, I didn't know that those things on my credit were affecting me so much to the point where I just could not find anything. I couldn't really find a place. um, and so basically, I had started to get more and more like discouraged and more depressed. So the last thing on my mind was the lump that I had found. And honestly, I was in such a state, you guys, that honestly I think I had forgotten all about at the time because I was just so like beat down and just like, why can't I get anything? Like, why are they all denying me? And that's basically how that went. But I'm not gonna like go all into that because, like I said, that's not what this is about. This is about, but that was, I feel like that was a big part of my journey because that was right after I found the lump. I had cancer the whole time. But back then, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know I had cancer at the time. So, sorry guys, I need these bullet points because I don't want to get lost in the story. So, we just stayed in our hotel and we had money. We just didn't have credit. Apparently, our credit was not good enough to really find a place like that. And there's just really nothing to say after that. Just don't have the credit. Um, Fast forward, I'm sitting like Bella near Edward Lecter. Like, this is my everyday, like, just lost, just discouraged, just, you know, so consumed and worried about, oh, am I going to be able to find something? Am I going to be able to find something? And that's basically what I was like for a few months. Um, the extended stay life had begun to take such a toll on me. And remember, I did tell you guys that I was pregnant because um, that whole time, yeah, I was pregnant also as well. So I was dealing with a lot of morning sickness, a lot of nausea, just a lot of pregnancy symptoms. And I was like really sick at the time also. So like on top of that, I had to deal with this and it was just like not a good space or time to be pregnant. Like I wish I could have did that without being pregnant, that part. Because I probably would have had way more energy and way more time and dedication to doing something. Yeah, and so during this time, my husband was also stressed because he was working like all day. He would only come home at night. Um, so basically, it would just be me and my son at the hotel like all day and all night until he came home from work, and then right the next morning he would be gone, and we would do it all over again. And that's what our life was like. Um, so so I was in like the last extended stay we were staying in, for some reason, on top of dealing with all this, some girl that worked at the front desk was just deciding that this would be a perfect time to have beef with me for random reasons. I was only asking for things that a hotel guest would be asking for, but I guess because it was predominantly, you know, this color, it that you guys know how it is. So we finally left there, but I was already um, too late. Like that whole situation of staying there and going back and forth with the whole employee that I had to see on a daily basis, because once again it was an extended stay, so it's not like this is somebody that I could just see for one day and just be done with it. But no, it was just like didn't know the girl. So yeah, I felt super uncomfortable there, and that took a toll on me as well. And we finally did go to a different one, but by that time it was too late. I was always experiencing pains. And like I said, I was extremely sick, so I really couldn't even leave the bed. My son literally had nothing but his tablet to keep him company because I just couldn't get up. But yeah, once I saw, you know, I had this sign that something was wrong, so I went into the hospital, and that's when they told me that the baby was not even really developing, and that it had no heartbeat. So that whole time, also, I was so worried about not having a place to stay that I didn't even go and get the baby checked out. I literally didn't even go and get the baby checked out. And that thought never crossed my mind. It never crossed my mind. It never, ever crossed my mind at all. Um, and I was about 3, because I found out in February. By this time it was April, so I was about 3 months. And I don't think the baby was even alive throughout that whole time. And that's the thing that, you know. Okay, y'all, I am back. So I had to take a little break, and which I did. And then, it got dark, so I had to change my scenery. Mm, I'm in my boys' room right now. Oh, Lord. I just ate, so. But yeah, I'm in my boys' room right now. I had to take a break. I didn't know that that part of the story was gonna be so hard to tell. So obviously, let me get my bullet points back pulled up, and we're gonna continue where we left off. So, if y'all want to know more about the whole miscarriage and how that experience was, I will make a separate video for that, because this video is not about that, but I did mention it because, like I said, I want to talk about things that happened after I found my lump, because I do feel like it was very, not very, but it was a part of that, of my journey. Um, but yeah, after my miscarriage, I did struggle a lot. Um, yeah, that was really hard for me. Um, it was a hard experience to get through. And around the same time, I had lost my best friend of 16 years. So I had to also deal with that betrayal as well. And I think that was the worst heartbreak I ever went through, just to realize that somebody who I considered my best friend, who I thought would be there for me always, was just really not my friend and actually didn't care about me at all. So that was really hard. And throughout that whole process, there was nobody there for me. Um, yeah, there was nobody there. I went through that by myself. Um, I had to deal with that by myself. So I did struggle to put my life back together. And around this time, this is April. So we're gonna move on from that. Like I said, I can make a whole separate video about that. Oh, this is, and if y'all are wondering, this is my heater. My man got this for me. I love it. I get very cold. It looks like a little fireplace, and yeah, it's amazing. Keeps me warm. I love it. So just ignore that. But yeah. So we stayed in an extended stay for a few months after that also. Um, then my brother had invited me to come and stay with him for a while because honestly, I think all I really needed was like a couple months to fix my credit. Like, you can't fix your credit overnight. And it's just crazy how people treat you when you're just like, we're not all out here trying to do the same things and have the same goals, and especially when you were young and you kind of were just figuring things out on your own. So that's kind of how your credit get messed up in the first place. And then there's other things on your credit that have absolutely nothing to do with you, because there were situations where people had things in my name that had nothing to do with me before I had even turned 18. So, like, it's just crazy how people, instead of encouraging you and being there for you, they just judge you and sit on their high horse like they're the king of everything. But I'm not even going to get into that, child. So I went ahead and moved in with my brother. Um, and for a while, I honestly wasn't even there that long until I realized that it just wasn't going to work out, because I do have, at the time, I had a 1 year old. So he was like, was he one? Yeah, I think he was one. Yeah, he was one. Yeah, so at the time I had a 1 year old, and then like the downstairs neighbor of my brother's place was always complaining, even though he wasn't even doing anything. But oh my God, I just want to stop for a second and tell you guys, like, during this period, I had so many spiritual attacks. Like, I had people that I've done nothing to, like, people that I have done nothing to, just things, bizarre things happening to me. Like, I was doing nothing to no one, literally. And it always just was like something, you know what I'm saying? And like, it was, you could tell that me and my husband were both traumatized, because one time my brother came in the room and he was like we both tensed up, because it was like every time we would go somewhere, it was always something. Like, I cannot make this up. And my brother literally was like, why y'all act like y'all parents just walked in the room? Because we could feel that energy of, like, every time we try to get back on our feet, it was always something or someone just waiting to knock us right back down. Um, and it did happen. A couple of days after that, he was just like, like, the neighbor keeps complaining, whatever, whatever. So we had to go. So I went to go stay with my other brother. Hold on, I gotta get my bullet points because I don't want to like lose the plot here. Okay, so yeah, so that's when I had went to stay with my other brother. And so we thought, this would be a great opportunity to just get ourselves together. And, you know, he's working, we had a car, we just didn't have a place. And then my brother, he had a place, he just didn't have a car. So we thought, okay, we'll just combine the two. And then everything was supposed to be going right. Then, that's basically where we were supposed to be at. So then, and now mind y'all, this whole time, I'm still like heartbroken from my miscarriage. Like, I'm still in shambles. Like, it had only been a few months. And people really don't care what you're going through. Let me just say that. People don't care how you're suffering. They don't care what you're going through. They don't care about what's going on inside. They don't care. And I had to learn that the hard way. I really did. I'm trying to be a mother. I'm trying to be a good parent. I'm trying to pick myself up off the floor because I've just had this huge heartbreak, this devastation that actually could send a woman into a psychosis. Which, yes, miscarriages do send women into psychosis. And I don't even think that I ever really had time to even dwell or heal from that. Because it was just, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? So, yeah, so all of that happened. And then throughout this whole process, my husband and I, we were not intimate. Like you can't believe like how long it had been since we were like intimate with each other. And then when we got to my other brother's house, that's when we finally were, close in that way. Don't want to be like too TMI about that, but we were. And that's when my husband had pointed out, he was like, wow, that lump, it's still on your breast. And we had completely forgot about the lump. I mean, I completely forgot about the lump. I completely like put it out of my brain because like I said, it was always so much going on, and then it was just like, what's next? What's next? What's next? Can't get a break, can't get a rest, keep getting all these spiritual attacks, people coming, people doing this, people doing that, people saying this, people saying that. It was just back to back to back, like heartbreak. So that's when he finally, was pointed out the one time we were intimate that he was like, dang, that lump, it's still on your breast. Maybe we should go to the hospital. Maybe we should get it checked out. And I remember mentioning it to my imam, my mother. And she was like, you can get that for breastfeeding, which I was breastfeeding my 1-year-old at the time. So I didn't really think of anything of it. And then I did, we we bounced the word breast cancer around, but then they say that people who breastfeed really can't get breast cancer like that. So it was just a whole, like, what is it? What is it not? So I finally had went into the hospital and when I went into the hospital, they told me they didn't do like any exams or anything. She just basically looked at it, she touched it, and she told me, she was like, you're super young, but this does look like, in my experience, this does look like breast cancer, like it could be cancer. Um, so when I left the hospital, I was just like, okay, that, but that was like, that was the first, opinion that I got. So I was just like, okay, so maybe she doesn't know what she's talking about, or just like in denial, or maybe like I'm like in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna go to another hospital, I'm gonna get more options. When I told my husband what she said, he was just like, I just don't believe that. I just don't believe that she got cancer, because breast can't, I mean, I'm sorry, breastfeeding can cause lumps in the breast. So I feel like you should get another opinion. In my head, I had cancer already. That was in my head. But my husband was like, no, I think you should get another opinion. I think it could probably be from breastfeeding. Even my mother was like, that breastfeeding caused lumps, and I didn't really talk to her anymore about that. So still, I didn't get to dwell on that situation. Let me get my bullet points, guys. I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, so in the midst of this day, like me finding out that I possibly had cancer, I realized that it wasn't going to work out staying with my brother, because, you know, me, how I am, I'm the type of person where if I have to live with somebody and I feel like you're treating me like a punching bag, or like I feel like you're disrespecting me in any way, I'm gonna just leave your place. Like, I'm gonna just give you your space. I'm gonna get out your area. Like, I've always been like that. Even when I was younger, when I was living with my parents, like, if I feel disrespected, if I feel like you treat me like a punching bag, if I feel like you're giving me your ass to kiss, I'm leaving. Like, I don't care where I'm going, I'm out of here, because I'm not gonna sit here and be nobody's punching bag. So, and my son turned two in the midst of all this, so this is around August. And then my husband was just like, you know what, we can move, we can move. And I feel like the situation would just be way better if we just go, stay with my family or whatever. And I shit you guys not, like, I try not to curse, but I shit you guys not, like, the very same day that we had left my brother's place and went to a hotel, our car literally had got repossessed because we were so behind on the payments at that point, because we could only afford, like, like, living in a hotel is really expensive. And it's not that you don't have the money, it's just that your money is going to go very fast. It just is, because that's what it's like living in a hotel. So we had to choose shelter over car payment. So that very same night when we left my brother's place, our car was repossessed. It was the craziest thing. And when I tell you guys, I was so heartbroken. And oh my God, you guys, literally, just right before the car got repossessed, because the car got repossessed like really late that night, but just before the car got repossessed, I had took a pregnancy test, because like I said, my husband and I, we were not intimate at all. Like, we didn't do anything. And then the one time we did something, like I was just like, I'm not feeling well. Like I wasn't feeling well. So I took a test when we got to the hotel, when we left my brother's place. The test was literally positive. And I cannot make this stuff up. Like, I'm finding this out, I'm finding this out, I'm finding this out, right? And I was literally like, I'm not doing nothing to nobody. Like, I'm literally just trying to pick myself up. Like, I'm trying to figure things out. I'm applying for places and keep getting denied. I'm paying for hotels because I'm not comfortable staying with people, and that's expensive and you can't save money. And it's like nobody in my life had any type of encouraging words for me. Nobody in my life, said you could do it. Nobody in my life did that, you guys. All they did was kick me when I was down. and it was like the craziest thing because like I said, like it was random people that I didn't know. It was people in my life who I thought the world of. My very own best friend, you guys, or a person who I thought was my bestest friend. Like it was like the whole universe was just falling all apart. And so that's when my husband was like, you know what, we're going to go just stay with my family and we're going to be able to get on our feet there because clearly being around your family isn't working out. And we literally only had enough money for the bus ticket to get to Detroit and enough money to be in the hotel room that we were in when we got to Detroit. Like that's all the money that we had left, just enough to get us where we were going. I can't make it up. Like it was like back to back to back to back to back heartbreak. Like friends, like family, like I'm not gonna say no names because I don't want people to feel like, I'm doing this to judge them or the situation because I do understand, it's just that I want to have the right to tell my story and I want to tell it exactly the way that it happened because this is exactly how it happened. And it was like people were just constantly beating me down, beating me down, beating me down, trying to get the best of me, trying to get over on me, kicking me while I was already down. And that was how it was going. And yeah, so I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna follow this man. I trusted him. He always would tell me before. He would just be like, come with me, and I would always be too scared to go with him. But I was like, I'm gonna go with him. I'm gonna trust him, and I'm gonna let him take the lead. And I did that. And I followed him to Detroit. I did. So, bullet points, you guys, because I can't. Yeah. So actually, yeah. Before I move on, when we went to Detroit, I actually decided to go no contact with everybody in my life. I decided I'm not gonna talk to anyone. I'm just gonna leave with my husband, my child. I'm gonna go to this new place that I've never been before. I'm going to try and rebuild my life. I'm gonna try to get past all this hurt. I'm gonna try to figure things out. So we went and I didn't know what was gonna happen. We didn't have no money, we had no car, we had nothing. But Yahweh, He provided for us. I don't want to be all up in this video crying, but this is like such an emotional journey for me. Like, that's why I'm not regretful that this happened to me. I'm very, very grateful because it really taught me so much strength that I had that I didn't know that I had. And it taught me how to love myself. And I really needed that. It taught me how to stand on my own and not need nobody. I don't want to be crying, but this is so emotional for me. Okay, so when I got to Detroit, y'all, I'm not even gonna go into the all the detail about that and what that was like, but it was really fun. Like living in Detroit, I was finally able to relax and let my hair down, like breathe. It felt like being on vacation, seriously. Like it was just a whole different type of environment. Like there was no outside voices in my head. There was nobody around me that I knew. Like, I didn't know anybody there. Nobody knew me. I even started going by my middle name, which is Tamar. I didn't even tell people my name was Katora. I was just like, I'm a brand new person. I'm in a brand new environment. And most importantly, I was pregnant, so I was like, dang, like I don't want to have another miscarriage. So it was so important for me to just learn how to be stress free and in a stress free environment, even though, despite everything that was going on, but we literally got our lives together. Like, we had a shelter. My husband worked so hard and he literally ended up saving up so much money, bought us a whole cash car. Like, we didn't even need to go to no lot. Like, we had a whole cash car. And my midwives in Detroit, I love them so much. Shout out to Birth Detroit. It was free, literally. Like, I never. And then they if you couldn't make it to your appointment, like they literally ordered you a Uber to get there. Like the food, like just going to Motown, which, oh my God, like I grew up watching The Temptations. I grew up like my father, he loves all the, like, my music taste, all of that I got from him. And just being like in Detroit where music was so like such a big part of that music from Detroit was such a big part of my childhood. I just felt like, y'all, it was just such a breath of fresh air for me. I had never been by myself before. You know what I mean? Like, always got people in your ear. You always got other people's opinions, and you can't focus. You can't figure out what's real and what's not real because people like to project things onto you. And sometimes you just gotta be by yourself just so you can figure out you. And I never ever had the chance to do that before. Um, so that's what Detroit was like for me. It was like a vacation, like a breath of fresh air, like my Jacob season. It was like my alone season. It was nobody but me, my husband, and my child. And I didn't talk to anybody because I didn't have nobody to talk to. I talked to one of my brothers. He definitely did not let me stop talking to him, but yeah. I definitely felt like I needed that. Like I needed that moment of silence. And this is where the story get. So let me get my bullet points back up. So basically, I had a midwife for my baby at the time that I was pregnant with, not this one. Um, then I also was going to the doctor because, like I said, I was aware of the lump that was in my breast. And I was definitely aware that it could be cancer. I just didn't want it to be. So I was going to the hospital, and so that's when they had advised me that I needed to do a mammogram and a biopsy. So I did. Well, yeah, I did. I did the mammogram, and that was my first time ever doing something like that. Um, and then basically there was like, yeah, we're gonna need to do a biopsy. So I went ahead and I let them do the biopsy. But you don't get the results right away. You have to wait for the results. So there was a really, like that, oh my God, what is it? What is it not? It was very, very hard. Like, oh my God, that waiting for that answer was really hard. And by this time, my belly had gotten big, and I was also going to my prenatal appointments for my baby. And like I told you guys, when I left to Detroit, I had went no contact with all of my family. Didn't really have a lot of friends to begin with, so there was really nobody checking for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and just to realize that you really don't matter to people like that, it was just funny to me because it's like, damn, like nobody. To just now reflecting on that, like nobody reached out. Like nobody was like, "Oh, where's Kazor? How's she doing?" Like it was crazy, but that was crazy. But yeah, um, you know what's crazy though? When I was younger, like when I was a teenager, I always had this fantasy of like leaving town. Like I always had this fantasy of like leaving town, disappearing into thin air, going somewhere where nobody knew me, like a ghost, like just being a ghost in people's lives. And I achieved that. I really did. It's still crazy to think about. Because I don't know if y'all know this. Well, y'all probably don't know, but I am also a writer. So, like, I'm very dramatic and I'm very sensitive. Very, very sensitive. Um, yeah. So, that was always a fantasy of mine. But yeah, I embrace being alone though. I embrace not having no friends. I embraced my child. I embraced my man. He took care of me that whole time. I did find a little job, but I wasn't making a lot. But at least I had a job. It was cool because I didn't have to talk on the phone too. I was just like on the computer doing data entry. I still don't even know how I found that job, but that's not a part of the story. Um, yeah, and I just have this to remember, like I had to remember what I was living for. I had to remember what life was like without all the pain and the heartbreak and the disappointment. And I really got to reflect on that. And I don't regret any of it. Any of it. I'm so grateful for the time that I had by myself there. Because I think sometimes we get so caught up in life that we can actually forget who we are. We can forget our purpose in life. We can forget what we mean to ourselves. I spent so much time trying to be everything for everybody, and I was nothing to myself. And that's something that I definitely had to learn. Sorry, y'all. I got to have my bullet points. Like, I need to be like on track. Okay, now we're gonna get into the biopsy and what it was like receiving the results. I'm able to smile about this now because my journey is complete now. But back then, oh my God, you guys, it was so like, it was rough, okay? Um, so I finally got the results. And it was such a horrible experience for me finding out about the tumor. That yes, it was in fact a tumor in my breast. Um, and the person, not only did they tell me over the phone, which I felt like was so just, how do you tell somebody that over the phone? You know, but what other form of communication is there? Like, I don't know if that's, comment below if you have had a biopsy or anything. Like, did you get your results over the phone, or like what was that like for you? I really want to know, because for me, I didn't like getting that over the phone, those results. And the person who told me, she just seemed like such a vulture. Like, she seemed so eager. Like, oh yeah, you have cancer. Like, yeah, you have cancer. Like, it wasn't like, oh my God, it's so hard to explain. It was like the way she said it, like she was excited to have another victim or something. That's just how I felt. Like, that's how it came across to me. And maybe it was just in my head because of the situation, but that's just how it sounded like to me. Like, she was just really happy to have another patient in her care. Like, that's what it came across like. Um and y'all, after after that day, I cried for weeks. Like, I sometimes I look at my son and he's so happy, and he's always smiling, and he's always laughing, and I just think about how I'm so glad that none of that pain got to him, because I was devastated. Like, I cried every single day after finding out that I had cancer. Every single day I woke up and all I could do was just pray. All I did was pray to Yahweh. I was just like, Yahweh, please don't let me die. Please don't let me die. Like, that was my headspace. Like, I literally thought I was going to die. I was just like, oh my God, Yahweh, please don't take me. Please don't take me. Please don't take me. And this was like my every day, all day. Like, just praying, crying, begging. Please don't let this be the end of my life. Please don't let this be it for me. Yeah, I was like that for weeks. For weeks. My my husband was so frustrated because he was just like, but you already knew. Because I was just like I said, prior to moving to Detroit, I was the one who already knew it was cancer when she told me it was, because she wouldn't have just said that. They were the ones that was like, it could be breastfeeding that caused that. So that's why he was frustrated with the everyday crying, because he was like, but I thought you already knew. But it's like, even though I already knew, getting those results and having somebody say those words to me, you have cancer, was so hard. Like, it was just so hard to hear. It was so hard to comprehend that. It was really, really hard. Like, y'all, I really thought I was gonna die. Like, I thought, is this it for me? Like, am I out of here? Am I finished? Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even tell anybody. Like, I didn't tell anybody about the mammogram. I didn't tell nobody about the biopsy, because remember I told you guys I had went no contact with everybody. I was only talking to one of my brothers at the time. I probably would have talked to my other brother too, but he don't really talk on the phone like that. He don't really text either. He's kind of like, he's the type of person where you gotta talk to him when you see him. And he got a phone, but he just don't like. He just don't like. You know what I mean? It's kind of funny to me because I get it. Like, I won't. I wouldn't either. Actually, I missed something. My husband went behind my back. He called my dad, my father, my papa, all the titles, whatever you prefer. For me, it's Allah, but I'm gonna say father. He called my father, texted him. I don't know how the communication went, but this was after my biopsy. The biopsy is technically a surgery. um, so it was very painful, actually. And you do have to heal from that afterwards. So it was then that I talked to my father. After the results, I told no one. I called my aunt because I just remember growing up hearing that she had cancer. So she was like the first person in my head to call, because I was just like, I just remember hearing that she had cancer growing up. So I called her. I was bawling, boo-hoo crying, bawling my eyes out. And she told me, in her own words, fuck them people. Because that's my auntie. And that was that's how that conversation went. Um, I just remember being so afraid to tell my parents. Like, it took me so long after finding out to call them, because I just was so afraid. Like, I don't know why, but I was just like, how am I going to tell them this? Like, how do you tell somebody this? It was like, I could have been, I was able to talk to anybody about it but my parents. And his mom, actually, my mother-in-law, she was really there for me, like, throughout the whole process. And I didn't tell her, though. She found out on her own. I didn't tell her. Um, my father, I finally called him on the phone. And I told him. And I don't know, like I just remember being in this space where I just I really didn't know how to say it. And I still did not tell my mother, my Ima. I didn't tell my mother because she was the one that I was most afraid to tell. I was so afraid to tell her. Um, so a little while after I found out, no, okay, so I gotta tell this part of the story. Before everybody started to find out, right? Before I told my father, before I told anybody else, um, it was my birthday, which is like, oh my God, it's so crazy how like things be aligning because it was my birthday. I just remember it being my birthday. And that night, or should I say that morning, because I did go to sleep like around 1 a.m. that day. So I did go to sleep like on the 11th on my birthday. And I just remember that night I had a dream about my grandmother that passed away. Um, and mind you, this is after all the crying, like all the praying, all the all the fasting because I definitely wasn't eating. Um, it was I had a dream about her on my birthday. And in the dream, she had looked so pretty. Like I just remember her hair was done. Um, she looked really pretty. Like her nails were done. I still to this day remember what she was wearing. Like she was, but yeah, I remember exactly what she looked like. And I just remember she just looked so pretty. She was dressed from the 90s. Her nails was red. Like she was wearing red. And I was just like, oh my God, Grandma, I missed you so much. And I went to hug her, but she would not hug me. Like, y'all, the dream was so crazy because I tried to hug my grandma and she just would not hug me. And I think in hindsight, like, okay, I'm gonna skip ahead. When I had told my parents about the dream and I told them that my grandma didn't want to hug me, I was like, is that something that she would do? No, because it was just like the way she did it. Like when I went to hug her, she was like, oh no, girl, my makeup is done. And she basically was just like, girl, get away from me. Like, don't hug me. So when I told my parents about the dream, like later on, um, I was like, is that something that she would do? And they was like, no, like she would never do something like that. And I think in hindsight, I think in hindsight, that was my grandmother's way of telling me that it wasn't my time yet. Because I feel like if she would have embraced me, then I would have knew, like, okay, it's my time. Because remember, I told you guys my grandmother, she actually passed away in 2019. So being that it was her in my dream, and I was going through all of that and praying and constantly crying and just like thinking, is this, is this how my life ends? She did not hug me. Like she would not hug me in the dream. And then I just remember waking up and yeah, it was my birthday that day. And I spent my birthday by myself. Um yeah, like I spent a lot of time by myself. And it's just crazy telling this story now, thinking like you think you have all these people around you these people really just don't care about you. They don't care that you, they don't care if you live, they don't care if you're dead. Like, people just really don't care about you. And I had to learn that the hard way. And it was a really, really vital lesson for me because I'm such a nice person. And I'd be thinking, oh, everybody is my friend and everybody has good intentions. And that's just not the case. Everybody does not have good intentions for you. Everybody doesn't love like you do. Everybody doesn't like people people feel like and you have an issue with me because I couldn't go out with you a couple times. Like now you have secret animosity. Now you're throwing shots and shade and it's like in my head I didn't do anything to these people, but to them you did do something. And that's just like worth, you know, throwing whatever away. So it's just crazy thinking about that now, how like nobody, none of my so-called friends that I had, nobody was checking for me, you guys. Nobody checked on me. Not a single text to see if I'm still alive, breathing, nothing. Like, and I'm not gonna lie, like after I had my first son, I did lose a lot of friends. You wanna know who your real friends are? Start a family, get married, have a baby. You're gonna see exactly who your real friends are. But yeah, um, so after that, um, my birthday had passed. I had turned 27. And it's crazy because when I found the lump in the first place, I had just turned 26. So who knows really how long I actually had it. It was just so crazy, you know, how all that aligned. So after that, um, I finally had opened up and I told my midwife about the cancer. And then I was just like crying to her. And I was like, I still haven't even told my mom because I don't know how to tell her. Like, how do you tell? It was just like, how do you tell a woman that her child has cancer? I think that's what was really in my head and why I was so afraid because I was just like, how do you tell somebody that, you know? So, okay, let me get my bullet points. Yeah. So basically, I had told my my father, my aunt knew, but I never really had talked to her again after that day. After she told me, you know, basically, fucking people don't listen to them. But it was like maybe I would have took her advice, but I couldn't really take her advice because I had this huge like tumor, like, and it wasn't like something that I couldn't see. Like I could clearly see this tumor in my breast, and because I was pregnant, it had gotten so much worse. Like the pregnancy had progressed it, I think, further along than ever. And the doctor that had actually told me that I had breast cancer, they were just like, immediately, you need to do chemotherapy. And I was just like, immediately, no, I didn't want to do chemotherapy. And I kept saying, no, I don't want to do that. And because I told her that I didn't want to do chemotherapy, she basically was just like, well, forget you. Like, in so many words, that was her response. Like, if you don't want to do chemo, I have nothing else for you. I can't help you. I have no other options. And at the time, I was literally 6, 7 months pregnant, belly big as I don't know what. And I'm just like, I have this whole other human being to consider. Like, I can't just. And they'll be like, oh, it's safe. You can do chemo with the baby. You can do chemo with the baby. But it's just like, I really have to consider this. And I had went down this whole rabbit hole of like trying to find a doctor, trying to see if there's any other options, any holistic care, like just researching. And I finally had gotten in contact with this one doctor, and it was just like every other option that wasn't chemo was just so expensive. So it's like, if you don't want to lose your hair, if you don't want to go through this, if you don't want to go through that, you have to pay so much money. And I just didn't have that, you know. I didn't have all that money laying around. And I just remember the doctor telling me, he was like, well, I'm saying a doctor, but he was an oncologist. And I just remember him telling me, you know, the people who get cancer are the people who take care of others before they take care of themselves. I remember that, him telling me that like it was yesterday, and I knew immediately I knew that was my life. He was like, the people who usually get these illnesses, these cancers, are the people who put other people before themselves, because they don't worry about their health. They don't worry about themselves. They don't check on themselves. And I am very guilty of that. I am guilty of putting people above myself. And then the other oncologist was just like, they would always tell me, you are so young, like you're literally in your 20s. You are not supposed to have cancer. You're not supposed to have this disease. You're not supposed to have this illness. So that's what that was like. And then I just remember, even though I was, hold on, wait, because I want to make sure that's the next part of the story before I say it. Y'all, don't be mad at me and my bullet points, okay? But yeah, for a long time, I was in denial about it. Like, I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe that it was true. I couldn't believe that it was true. I couldn't, you know, I didn't think that this could happen to me, which, of course, you never really think something could happen to you until it happens to you. And then you have to, like, deal with it. But I was officially diagnosed, I think, in November. I don't know if it was November or December. I'm gonna have to like put the real date somewhere, because I can't exactly remember, but I know it was around November, December. Yeah, so that is what happened next. So, remember I told you guys I went no contact with my family. At this point, I was only talking to my father. We wasn't even really talking though, just like, you know, here and there, because like I said, my husband had went totally behind my back and texted him and was just like, look, you need to check on your daughter, you need to talk to her. Like, I still to this day don't know how that went, because like I said, it was behind my back. And then I remember when my father texted me, he was just like, I heard about your surgery. I was just like so taken aback, because I was like, who told you that? I didn't tell nobody that. And he wouldn't say who told him. But I knew who it was. Eventually I found out who it was. Um But nobody knew at this point. It was just my father, my husband, me, my aunt, because I had briefly had called her to see what she would say, because she also had cancer. And then I had told my brother, because like I said, you guys, me and my brother, we never had stopped talking. So eventually I had told him. So it was just only those people that knew. And remember, I told you guys I had went no contact with everybody. And I just remember one day I got this phone call, and it was literally not even a phone call. It was FaceTime. And it was my mother, my imam, and my brother. And they were together. And I hadn't talked to them at all since I left for Detroit. And I just remember being so happy to see them. So happy to see them. And when I tell y'all, we haven't gotten off the phone since. Like, still to this day, like, me and him and her just be on group chats, group FaceTime. We be on two-way. Like, that ever since that day, we have not hung up the phone with each other. But I just remember being so happy to see them. Like, when she called me, honestly, I didn't even expect her to reach out to me first. Because, like, if y'all know me, y'all know my mother. Like, she is the most stubborn, like, I did not expect her to call me at the time. So, yeah, that meant so much to me. That meant so much to me that they reached out to me. And, yeah, so some time had passed, and I thought, I finally will accept this, you know? I'm finally going to accept that this is happening. This is my reality. This is what I had dealt with. And that's when my mother-in-law was like, y'all need to come down from Detroit. Y'all need to come here. And plus, I was pregnant, so she really probably just wanted a baby. She was like, y'all need to come here. Y'all need to come stay with me. Y'all need to leave Detroit. So we packed up everything and we moved back to Atlanta. Back to Atlanta we went, where after we worked so hard, like, to build a life there. Vacation was over. So we moved back to Atlanta, and yeah, that's when basically everything had started. And I really did need support, I needed to be close because Detroit is so far away, like all the way on the other side of America. And it would have just been a lot, it would have been a lot to be away from my family, to have a baby, to, I didn't know what I was going to do about the cancer, but I just knew that whatever decision I made, I was going to need a lot of support. So I did move back. And the year is now 2024. So I remember we started the story in 2023. So, yeah, this is going to be the end of part 1. Like I said, this is going to be 3 parts because I'm gonna do it like year. This video was about 2023, which is the discovery of the lump and my diagnosis and why it took me so long to go and figure this out. And sometimes I beat myself up still because I'm like, dang, like if I would have just went to the hospital when it first happened, it probably wouldn't even got that far. Like I probably would not have even needed chemo. I probably could have just bloop, did a little surgery, because y'all, it was so. When I first found the lump, it was so small. It was so small, and then when I got pregnant, when I had my baby, when I was pregnant with my baby, my son, it was so big. It was just so huge. Like that's why I was like, I probably would have took my auntie advice and was just like, I'm not listening to these people. They don't know what they're talking about. But it's different when it's something that you can actually see affecting you. And yeah, it was like that whole time I was alone, like throughout that whole experience. And it was like, dang, like from miscarriage to cancer, like just heartbreak to heartbreak, from heartbreak to heartbreak. Now I want y'all to know something about me. I've never ever been homeless. Okay, if you are living in a hotel, you're not homeless. Don't let anybody ever make you feel like you're homeless if you have to live in a hotel or a motel or an extended stay, because you have a roof over your head at the end of the day. I've been called homeless before. It hurt really bad. But then in hindsight, even my husband told me this. He was like, if you are in a hotel or a motel and you are living there consistently, you're not on the streets, you're not sleeping in your car, you are not homeless. If you're not sleeping outside, if you're not sleeping out on a park bench, you are not homeless. I just wanted to formally say that. But yeah, I'm gonna end this video and just say, like, come back for part two. Part two is gonna be like my chemo experience, how I found my doctor, my oncologist, like it's gonna, like, how I had my baby. It's gonna be all the rest of 2024 and what happened. But this was just basically like my discovery and my diagnosis, and just kind of telling you guys like a little bit about my journey and how I got to that point. So that's why I'm going to do 3 parts of this video. So if y'all made it this far, thank you for listening. I hope that this was a helpful video to anybody. I hope that you would see this and be like, if anything is wrong with you, go to the hospital immediately. I know we could be like all caught up in our day-to-day lives. I know things sometimes can be so like consuming and you just feel like you're gonna live forever even if you're in your 20s. I know what being in your 20s is like. You never think anything is gonna happen to you. Hopefully this will be a lesson to somebody to go get checked out as soon as something pops up. Don't be like me. Don't wait. Definitely don't keep it to yourself. Definitely just reach out for help. So yeah, that's the end of this video. I'm gonna come back with part 2 really soon. Yeah, thanks for watching.